Hello, I'm Samiya. If you clicked on this video, you probably want to know, what business should I start? How do I decide? I have so many things I'm interested in. I have so many things I think I want to do. There's so many great business ideas that I see other people doing. Just can't figure out which one I should finally go ahead and stamp my approval on. We're going to go through the criteria of how to pick your business. So keep on watching. So, first item to think about when creating a business. Okay, so what specialization, like what things am I good at? What things do I have some type of experience in? Because regardless, the business side of it is going to be new to you. If you never run a business before, there's going to be so many things on that side that you're going to have to figure out. You're going to have to figure out how to hire. You're going to have to figure out if you're going to hire. You're going to have to figure out your price point. You're going to have to worry about clients. You're going to have to worry about so many things of business, so many parts of running a business. What payment processor you use, there's tons and tons of things. But the one thing that you may already have a good stamp on, something that you already kind of have a footing with, is what your business is about. So, for example, let's say I have been doing photography for my church for a couple years. Let's say that. Let's say I enjoy videoing. People have me video at family gatherings. Let's say, those are photography examples. Let's say I did enjoy moving when I was helping a friend, right? I was helping a friend move. I enjoyed, am I good at tech? Do I have an expertise in something? Did I go to school for something that other people have trouble with? Is it something that I can do that a lot of people have issues doing? Is there something I can coach somebody in? Am I really good at explaining things to people? Am I really good at giving advice? Do people come to me when they have problems? Things like that. So you really want to look at, what are you good at? So when you have your list of businesses that you're saying, okay, I could do this. I could own a trucking company. Okay. I could do tutoring. I could own a life coaching business. I could start a coaching program. I could go into photography. I could have a wedding videography business. I could, so on and on and on, right? But it's based on what have you done previously / what are you interested enough to learn? Because when you're going into business, you want to already have some type of expertise in what you're going into. You don't need to know everything. That's definitely not it. You don't need to know everything. Because I didn't know everything when I started my business at all. But I did know that I enjoyed it enough to stick with it for a while. And I knew that I wouldn't be ready to quit, when it got tough. So those are the main things. You have to have some type of interest in it, or you're going to regret it. I really think that. So now we're on to tip number 2. What about your lifestyle? So do you want to have a lot of involvement in this business? Or do you kind of want to be able to sit back and later on be able to kind of push these things off on someone else? That sounds awesome. But do you want to be able to outsource to other people later? Or do you want to be only you can do this job? So this is kind of where the lifestyle comes in. Now, both business models can be highly profitable, because let's say you are a coach and you get super, super popular. Everybody wants to be coached by you, right? Let's say you're a business coach. You could be a life coach. You could be anything or any of those. Say everybody wants to work with you. You have a wait list for you, right? That's a very heavily involved you business, right? You're going to be the one doing most of the coaching because people want to work with you, right? Now, you can make thousands, millions of dollars, because you can charge, let's say I charge $1,000 for 20 minutes. There are coaches out here who charge $1,000 for just 20 minutes of their time. So if you're that solopreneur, you could make tons and tons and tons of money. You could make $3,000 in an hour. 20-minute sessions. You go 60 minutes, that's an hour. And you can make that, let's say you do 5. Say you want to do 5 a day. That's a lot. 15 people a day. That's a lot. Say you even do let's just say you do 6 a day. So then that is $6,000, right? $6,000. So you make $6,000 a day. You don't have to work every day to make a pretty good living off of that. However, let's say also you're a coach in this scenario as well. Now, in this case, let's say you want to, instead of just being you by yourself, you want to eventually be able to have other coaches work with you, work in your company, right? So you're able to use their time and you generate them money and yourself money, right? And while you're also still helping clients. So in this business model, you're still making money, but it's not so heavily reliant on just you. Now, businesses go in scale. So at first it will mostly be you doing a lot of the work. So it has to be something that you're interested in enough to hold on until you're able to get to a certain level to start outsourcing to other people or start adding other people to the business, things like that. But most people don't start off with just adding people to their company. Unless you want to have a business partner, things like that. I didn't have a business partner. I didn't start with a business partner. But it depends on what business you're in and the capital you need and the capital you have. So, now, another thing. Now we're moving on to lifestyle. So that was lifestyle. Do you want to be immersed in your business? And is this business going to allow you to step away if you do want to step away in the future? Is that a possibility? So it's kind of looking at other people's business models and kind of seeing what their lifestyle is like. Or if that's something they're choosing to do. Because some people still choose to be 100% involved in their business every single step. That's personally not a choice I would recommend. Being a control freak. Now being involved, I'm super involved in my business, but I try not to be so on top of everything. Like it has to be me. I have to do every single thing in my business. That will start to stress you out. Eventually, when you're able to outsource to other people, you want to be able to let go a little bit of the reins and let people take a little bit more control. So now we're on to number 3. What about your budget? Now, how much money do you need to start this business? Now, there is businesses that have super low capital, and I'm going to start with those on one of my next videos. It's going to be about business that you can start with very low capital. Businesses that you can start for relatively cheap, right? Because there are businesses that you can start for relatively cheap. However, it's also important that the money that you're choosing that you want to invest in your business it's also important that you take into account how much money you're going to need, how much money you're able to put in right now, and is there a possibility that, okay, maybe I can't buy this truck right now for this hauling company. Maybe I can't buy this truck right now, but maybe I can rent a truck. I have enough funds to rent a truck. Maybe I can't put down on a truck, or maybe my credit isn't good enough to put down on a truck, but am I able to rent a truck? And maybe I can use that until I get my cash to where I'm able to buy, right? So is there a way in the door? Is there a small step in the door? So maybe I don't have a lot of money for the thing. Maybe I have I want to go into a business that has a lot of overhead. I want to eventually get a building. Maybe instead of getting that building right now, you think about, okay, how can I start this as an in-home business, as an online business even? How can I start this with we go to other people's homes and I do this, or I do it over Zoom, or I do it at a meeting place, right? So how am I able to put this where I don't need exactly a brick and mortar right now? So things like that. Let's say you're a photographer. You may already have your cameras. You may not have a lot of setup, right? So you may start to just get things piece by piece. You get a ring light here, I'm not the best with that. A shadow, you know the things. I'm so sorry. This thing here, you get some lighting here, you get a new piece here, a new accessory here. You kind of just build on as you go. So, is there a way for you to do that? And also, is that business possible with the capital you have right now? Is that something you really want to do? So you want to go ahead and maybe take up another job so you can save up for that business model, or you can put money down for that business, right? Or maybe you have really, really great credit and you can go ahead and get a loan for that business, right? Maybe, usually these are people, we're talking about beginners, right? So maybe you have really, really great credit and you can get a loan for, a personal loan. Or maybe you have family that will let you borrow the money. Like, these are things, plenty of people have started businesses with borrowed money. I started my business with money from graduation. I had $700 from graduation. I put all my graduation money from high school into that. So, what money can you invest right now? And is it feasible for what you want to do? Now, on to the next. The next one is, look at the competitors that are around you. Now, are there other people in this space right now? Are there other people in the space that you're in? Are there other companies that do what you do or what you want to do? Is there a lot of competition in the space you want to go into? So let's say with photography, there's a lot of photographers, right? But does that mean that everybody's going to go with that certain photographer, right? Because there's so many? Not necessarily. That's all about, how am I going to stand out in my niche, right? So if I'm a life coach, maybe I specialize in single mothers as a life coach. So maybe as a life coach, I specialize in single women as single mothers, right? So if I specialize with single mothers, then somebody who maybe talks to married women, who speaks to mostly married women, that single mother may not go to them, you see? So it's that differentiation, that's that niche, because it makes them draw to you. What makes them draw to you? What makes you stand out among the crowd? So you can win in a saturated niche, right? You can definitely win in a saturated niche. Or because there's also this. There's on another side, another sphere of it. There's always the idea of, there's this business nobody's ever done. Nobody's ever done this. I'm the first to do this, right? So, this may be true. You're the first to think of this. You're the innovator. You are a true entrepreneur, right? You found something out of nothing. We found nothing that was like this, and I'm going to create it. Now, these are like the Amazons of the world. I don't know. Amazon is pretty unique, right? These are the Amazons of the world, right? So these are people who thought of something that nobody's ever done. We're going to have these packages delivered to people's house. We're going to do this, that. Okay, something completely new. A new idea. But is it that people haven't thought of it? Or is it that it's a business model that is flawed? Now, this is how you can tell the difference between these two. There's a business model that's flawed, and then there's the business model that it could work, but people haven't made an effort to go through with it, right? Now, when they haven't made an effort to go through with it, it's because they haven't made an effort to go through with it. Because maybe they had something else that they thought would work better, right? Maybe they weren't as passionate about that project as you. Maybe they didn't like that idea as much as they liked something else, right? Maybe they went through this whole process that I'm giving you. And maybe they thought, okay, I can do this better. This would be a better use of my time. I can maybe get this profitable faster. Maybe I feel like I have a head start with this versus this, right? So that's always a possibility. Or it's a possibility it's brand new. Nobody's ever heard of it. Or it's a possibility that it's a flawed business model. Now, this is always a thing. If there's a business that you can think of, like any business that you have in your mind, you're like, nobody's ever done this before. Make sure you ask yourself, why has no one ever done this? Why have they never done this before? Is it because there's some, funding issues, right? Maybe it's some type of nonprofit situation. Is there funding problems with it? Is it hard to get money out of, the clients, let's say? Is it kind of hard to get started in? It's a really high barrier of entry. It's kind of, you need to already have a business, already have the funds, to create this. There's a multitude of reasons, right? Or it's just not really a wise business decision. It's just not a good business model. And that's as simple as that. It's not a good business model. It's not serving the right people. The targeting's all wrong. It's not really needed. Nobody really needs that service. Nobody really needs that product, right? So it's always important to think about those options as well when you're looking at your list, and see if there's anything that's just not really sitting right. Because usually it's something that no one's done, nobody's heard of, you haven't ever heard anybody mention this. It just might not be the one for you. So, if you learned anything from this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and I would love if you would comment and say if it was helpful for you. As my first YouTube video of recent, and I'm going to be back next week to cover my next topic. Most likely it will be on it'll be on something else, obviously business related, and I hope you enjoy. Talk to you soon.